Hello, everybody. Welcome to part 2 in my 2-part series of the Forge Forward podcast, leading up to the Forge Roadshow in Melbourne coming up. I'm your host with my co-host, founder, Elon Musk buddy, Tesla
Yes,
advocate,
that's true.
Bitcoin, Binance advocate,
True.
Courtney Smith. How are you, sir?
I'm feeling fantastic today, mate. Hopefully feeling better than you were last week. Have you recovered, my friend?
I have recovered, thank you very much. I've taken this stuff called Armor Force and a couple injections of cocaine, and now I'm hyped up. I'm ready. I'm ready
Okay.
to go. It's I'm
My
excited to
mum
be
always
here.
said pineapple juice, so a
Pineapple
little
juice,
bit of a
yeah, home
discrepancy
remedy.
there, but anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. My last memory of remember taking medicine from my mum was if I mucked up in the house, or if I was misplaying, or I was swearing, I didn't get the wooden spoon. I didn't get whipped by the belt. I didn't get any of that. But what my mother used to do was put chili flakes in my mouth, and that was my punishment.
Wow.
And ever since then, I've got a high tolerance of chili. But that was my punishment back in the day.
I thought you were going to say
So,
you fell into line.
I'm
So
really good at
Phil,
chili.
was it more painful at the start, or at the beginning, or the end? With
The
the
end,
chili.
man. That aftertaste is
I
not
like
going
that
away.
question.
Yeah, aftertaste. But that's what me and my brothers got a whipping on. Anyway, that's enough personal life about me. I'd love to introduce you to our guest for today. We've got Adam Leski from Trailed. Saying
Hey,
hi to your
everyone.
fans out there, mate. Thanks for being a part of us. You've been on the podcast before. It's good to see you healthy. I don't know where you are now. You're always somewhere, Australia, South Africa, Antarctica, wherever you're pitching Trailed. But it's good to see that you're here today, mate. How are you?
Awesome. Thanks for having me along, guys. And always repping the Trail T-shirt. Doesn't matter where it is on the on the globe. Really nice to be here and see you guys at Connection again, and be able to talk about all the cool things that are happening in the world. So appreciate you inviting me on again.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And Alex, newcomer, thanks for joining the family of the Forge family, Pier Marketing Group. Excited to see you next week to throw some axes. Please tell me a little bit about yourself. Let's go start off there.
Well, I'm an axe throwing novice, so I'm not even sure that I've ever thrown an axe before, though as Courtney met yesterday, one of our team members is Norwegian, so I've been tapping her up for a little bit of advice. So we'll see how we go with that. But Peer Marketing Group, so been around for about 10 years. Enjoy running that. My wife started the business 10 years ago. I'm now doing the day-to-day. She's at home doing the proper, unpaid, and unloved work of parenthood for all its trials and tribulations. So I feel like very lucky that I get to come to the office for a break every day. So all good.
Excellent.
Looking forward to next week.
Excellent. All right, some smart individuals in the room, Courtney.
Yes.
Throw some knowledge bombs. What do you want to start off with, mate?
Yeah, look, I think, we're 12 months on from the Forge event that we held last year. And the conversation at that event was to discuss what does two big things look like. One is, what does the new industrial revolution of AI and technology change look like? And the second was, how are we changing as humans? And so probably the first question I would love to throw across to the panel is, what's happened in their world that they're seeing both at the customer side and in their own business, both in both of those fronts? Because really, from my perspective, we are moving into exponential change, and we need to prepare ourselves as business owners, and we certainly need to prepare our people to be competitive and to be able to thrive into the future. So over to the two panelists, whoever wants to go first, left to right. Alex, maybe you can start.
I think it's really interesting, and one of the articles that came across last week before, Harvard Business Review article that says, and all statistics are made up or whatever, 95% statistics are made up. 85% of businesses that have started to implement AI in their organizations have seen no benefit. I found that really interesting. I was chatting to a mate of mine about it, he's an engineer, but well into using AI for his clients, for his business, and how he's using that to improve and crunch data, make sense of data, using small language models more than the large language models as well. And one of the comments he made is he's not surprised at all, because people aren't going into the technological change with any kind of plan. It's just like, oh, we should use AI, rather than going, what do we need to do and how can we use this tool to better do what we do? I think a lack of strategic thinking, and a lot of people diving into something that most of us know very little about, really, very, very little about, and actually even misusing the tools as well, and not asking it the right questions. And an example of that is, again, speaking to the same guy who was asked to do a little bit of work, help out some medics do some rostering. So the medic was trying to use ChatGPT to design a relatively complex roster. What he should have asked is, can you design me a program to help me design a complex roster? So he was asking the wrong question. I thought they were really good examples of just how to use it really badly. And that's not to say that I can tell you how to use it really well. It's just that an example of how the market doesn't know what it can and can't do and what it should do. And then I'd say expand on that, is that I don't think it's scary. I don't think it's going to take everyone's jobs. I don't think it's going to ruin us as a society. We just really need to know how to use it properly, and where it adds value and where it doesn't. And then, I don't know, it'd be pretty good.
I concur. I did a roster, and the roster I did was my bin run, because we got 4 bins and I can't even remember which night it is. So I took a photo of the council site, which had all of the mapped areas of when bins were delivered. And I said, could you please create a roster for me of when the bins I need to get out? So there you go. Using it with the right way, amazing power.
I love the bit analogy.
Yeah, that's right. It's complex, man. It's complex.
Hey, which colour bin and which?
That's what I'm saying. Get it wrong, and you're in a world of hurt the next week.
Courtney, I was in Canada, and I took the bin out on the right day at the wrong time zone, wrong time block, and I ended up getting a $90 ticket from the council. And I'm like, for what? They're like, there's bears that come through at that time. I'm like, I didn't see that on the box.
Canadians, what a tax system. So maybe, Adam, to give some background, and maybe explain a little bit about Trailed quickly, and then why technology is so relevant to you as an organisation. Clearly, you've got to stay abreast of it. So yeah, let's lean into that same conversation, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So from a Trailed perspective, look, we're a very much a risk management and fraud detection system first. By all means, we want to make sure that B2B payments globally are protected, and that what is going through these mid-market to large organizations are not only efficient and effective, which is what you would expect from an AP automation tool, but also they're protected and they're correct, and they're going to the right location, the right supplier, the right amount, and they're in the normal trend of both the vendor and what we see cross country and globally, and then what we see in the patterns of your business and your behavior. So first and foremost, AI and understanding of data around the supplier, and also understanding of what's normal for your business, is fundamental to what we do in terms of protecting the payment. So for us, this next evolution of AI around ChatGPT or Gemini and things like that, what we're seeing out there with our customers in manufacturing, construction, distribution, we're seeing that they're starting to wrap these AI products into their businesses. And when I say wrap, I'm basically saying they're bringing in APIs with Gemini and ChatGPT, and they're putting them in, but they're not really, they're just those products inside of something in their business. So I agree to Alex's piece around, I don't think anyone has really nailed the understanding of what these tools can fundamentally do outside of wrapping the branding and putting them in their organization and saying, hey, this should help you do things faster. And I'm not surprised either about the statistics on that Harvard release, or that paper, about, companies are not yet seeing the ROI on it. We saw exactly, if you wind back another 5 years, we saw exactly the same trend with data science, right? It was a micro bubble. Everyone was focused on, how do we model out data properly? How do we do predictive analytics? How do we, put things in the cart quicker? How do we get better conversion? All that sort of stuff was done through modeling. And what we're seeing is, and we saw it then as well, is the output of all of this is only as good as the input. So if your data is crappy going into the AI engine, your output is going to be crappy, right? If your data going into the data model is crappy, your modeling and prediction and analytics are going to be crappy, and you convert, like everything's tied to what have you got, how have you got it stored. And a real life example for us was we used the Gemini and ChatGPT modeling around sitting on top of our Confluence, so some of our product documentation. And got it to analyze and consume all of our product documentation in order to make us a prototype of a module that we wanted to create. Yeah. And that's where I see the output being so much faster than what has previously been done, but it's all on the basis of the documentation being excellent. And if the documentation is not excellent, the output is not going to be excellent. And so your ability to move at speed is all about quality control of what you're actually doing. The process can't change around documentation and infrastructure. What you then do is layer on the AI on top of it, but you still need that baseline in order to provide, like, to get you where you want to go in terms of results, is what I'm saying.
I agree, and two topics that came out from that quick chat by both of you gentlemen was security is an interesting one. So in this AI world that's going to be heavily deep faked, and I don't mind opening the kimono. We got phish attacked. Hasn't happened in 15 years of business. That's netted in an outcome of negativity for us. Other than identifying and seeing that a threat was available, this actually netted in a loss to our business. And so the funny bit there, Adam, was that we had a scenario, and I want to share this because everyone needs to understand. It's as simple as this: social phishing, and that's spelled with a PH for those that don't know what that's about. But that's literally getting someone to give details across. Those details were accidentally given, and the result was that someone was able to sit into an accounting package that we run, and I won't name that package, but they were able to sit there as a user in that package and review our transactions. And they waited about 28 days. They looked at invoices as they were coming through, and they waited for the perfect opportunity. And it was a decent sized business for a decent sized invoice for a company of our size. But the thing that they identified, and this is how sophisticated these people are, they identified that the invoice didn't have the bank account details on it in this particular invoice. And so they went into the back end and change the bank account details in the accounting package, because we do an account run. And so when we did the account run, guess what? That invoice was paid to a secondary person out there in the ether. Now, we think there's someone from South Australia, so we're hoping we'll recover the funds. But the point of the matter was the sophistication levels are next level.
And Courtney, I'm really sorry to hear that. Honestly, I'm really sorry to hear that, because like our business was built on my co-founder and brother-in-law, their family was defrauded for hundreds of thousands of dollars through a business email compromise scheme. Very similar. They sat in his uncle's email. They impersonated him for over a couple of months, understanding what was going on, and they picked the right time and they actioned it accordingly. This is why we've trailed so much time focusing on not only does that supplier fingerprint look like for your business, like what looks normal in your accounting system, fantastic, it's one data point, right? But what does that supplier look like holistically across the entire community? Is the payment details the same? Is the location of where they send their invoices the same? Like, these are the sorts of things that, there's rule-based, and then there's AI-based, and then there's community wrapped data that allows you to provide better security to every single business by working together as a community to fight these fraudsters in a smart way.
Yeah, and it shows that you can't distribute decision making too far anymore. You just can't. You've got to have tight decision making and tight control over admin and functions that might be tighter than you think about today. So there's the human piece again, and then there's the technological enhancement piece. Couldn't agree more. The second piece was the speed, and you broached that impact, Alex, is an interesting conversation. And so just from a lens of someone that is across a number of the facets of a business, having run a small business, coding is a word-generated output at the end of the day. Coding has always been something that an LLM should be able to do well, because it understands words. An LLM language model being the giveaway there is the key to that piece. So when you talk about speed of coding, you are 100% correct, Adam. You know, we're seeing 2 up to 5x depending on the type of project we're engaging with. So if it's a legacy project, a little bit slower. If it's a new project, much faster. But what we're learning is exactly what you said, is documentation. That documentation piece is incredibly important, and it's almost more important to give relevance to these engines. I heard a story once that if you set the vibe code of free, you could get a 10x the pain as much as a 10x the gain. So, you know, humans can't look at every line of code when you're running 10,000 lines of code a day. I mean, I would suggest to the audience to go and watch Peter Diamandis on Moonshots if you want to hear about what's coming by biotech technology, and a company called Blitzy. And Blitzy is doing a PL1 Kix COBOL DB2 legacy code enablement piece in tens of millions of lines of code for banking sector. They've never been able to change off it because it's too hard. First stage, funnily enough, is the code generates the documentation, and then the humans look at the documentation to make sure it makes sense for the next build. Anyway, that's a bit of a segue. All right, so I'll get into a little bit about Forge, if that's okay, a little bit of tech there, and why we started Forge. Forge, for those that don't know, was multifaceted. In its first instance, it was to bring a partnership network together. We know as both business owners and people who play marketing that the best relationships created are those introduced. Yep. And so therefore the best way to market is to meet great people, like-minded people who have like-minded companies, and to get to know those people. So Forge was created on that single premise. The second was to pass knowledge and information of value, so people out in the greater ether could understand things that they might be puzzled by talking to people like Adam and Alex around certain things that are taking place in domains of expertise. And the final one was to ensure we had fun and an experience to remember. And so we step into next week into an event, and we're going to throw some axes. So I'll just ask, which of you gentlemen has been a shield maiden before, and who has thrown an axe? And I think you said, Alex, you haven't, but have you ever thrown an axe, Adam, previously?
I've thrown an axe. I missed terribly, as I'm just as good at axe throwing as I am at darts, which is
right.
Let's put it this way: the dart used to end up behind the bar, so not particularly great at the darts either. Keen to have a second crack though, because I've got a low benchmark that I started with, and you can only go up from there, right?
100%. So, you know, the Forge Fire is fun, inspiration, relevance, and experience. Perhaps, gents, you could talk about what you're seeing out there and the importance of human networking, human relationships, and building third-party relationships that can help your business. Can we talk to each of those subjects in a world of AI, of course?
I think one of the things that's becoming, I think the timing of AI is quite interesting. Or the timing of AI to the broader market, rather than what's been going on in, you know, big business, big tech for the last, 5, 10, 15 years. And also what happened in 2020, 2021, the lack of connection in society, generally, that sounds a bit big and esoteric, but I think, sort of like this pullback of people interacting with each other. I think AI is probably putting another layer onto that, is that if we don't allow ourselves and encourage ourselves to go and make real connections, that's not good. It's not good for business. It's not good for us as individuals. And I think the danger is we fall back on the technology and let the other things go, rather than using technology as a tool to, as you said, Courtney, add value, add speed, add capacity, whatever it might be. And even if you think about the amount of stuff that you can do with generative AI platforms, the problem is that everyone can do that as well.
Yeah,
I can go and do 100 posts for LinkedIn in a minute. I can go and generate all those, and I can pump them out, and so can everyone else. So you don't end up with any differentiation. You just end up with more noise and more stuff, which in itself is then going to turn people off because they don't want to look at it, they don't want to read it, they don't want to interact with it. A lot of the AI stuff is quite obvious. I mean, the ChatGPT, Oxford, comma, and M dash has got to be like the real. You don't need AI to tell you that someone's using AI. You just look at, the things that we just don't really use in language. They're not wrong. They're grammatically correct. We just don't stylistically use them. Same with imagery as well. You can kind of tell. And I think that the danger is you just turn people off because that's not a connection. That's a creation of stuff for people, which is actually very one-sided as well, because the only attempt is to benefit me. It's not an attempt to benefit you. That kind of makes sense.
Oh, from a marketing sense, it's an awesome philosophical viewpoint, and I think we didn't talk about getting into philosophical viewpoints here, but that's some truth to that, right? Is what do you believe, what do you know to be true, what are your knowns, what are your unknowns, and so yeah, mate, I'm with you 100%. The challenge is that I think as humans we lean to the technology because it seems like the easy substitute. When you think about it, like it seems like the obvious path, and everyone's talking about it. You can get a conversational AI to do a voice call IVR related today that sounds like a human. You wouldn't even know. You'd actually have to tell the person at the other end that you are a bot. The question mark then becomes is to what point of racing to the bottom does that create in this noise enabled world? So
that's full race.
Just full race to the bottom, right? And so that concept of human connection, I don't think we want to underdevelop in this conversation. But also, I think it's the fact that we need to enable people to be able to use the tools in a much better way. We still need the HITL, the human in the loop piece. Adam, I'd love your take.
It's interesting. The more we develop with technology, and this is across the board, whether it be .com, whether it be cloud, whether it be AI, whether it be data science and ML, we become lazier by pushing on the technology. Whereas I think it becomes actually non-authentic. Like if you think about the way that we communicate and then we talk via email, we make it subject to an experience that we've had with someone during a call or a meeting or an interaction in person. And I feel like the more we have people sending out generic reply emails through ChatGPT or whatever it might be as an AI tool, you look at it and you read it and you go, that doesn't even make sense. Like I didn't even know what you were trying to say there.
Yeah, relevance was poor. I get it.
Like, the understanding that, these systems, they don't understand the full context and they don't have the background and the relationship and understanding, and they just don't have the authenticity behind them. I think using them for customer facing / internal comms is risky. And I think for humans, they generally go, well, if I can do it for one part of the business, I can do it for all of it. And they're trying to deploy it to reduce 80 or 90% of their overhead in terms of emails and responses and messaging. And they just, you can do that for a part. Like there's definitely a part that Alex was talking around email marketing, but just remember when email lifecycle campaigns started becoming a thing, and then every company brought in lifecycle marketing, depending on which buckets you were in, is what sort of comms you would get. And now, and everyone stopped cold calling because it was easier to do emails than it was to do actual calling and have a conversation. You're now seeing on the other side is that whole cold calling piece is coming back because that human engagement is actually hard and different, and not everyone wants to do it. And so the more the noise mixes around with AI and automation, the more inauthentic it's going to become, and the more you need to strategically place yourself as in a different way to be different. The same with I don't know if Courtney, you remember as a kid the flyer drops where they used to walk to the letterbox and drop them off, and the whole idea of the letter drops, it was the conversation that they'd had with the people that they're dropping it off to, right? So it's just the more we do in one certain aspect, every company follows, it becomes noise, and then you got to try and work out how to differentiate yourself from the noise.
Yeah, and Adam said that because he knows I'm old, because we had to talk about our kids' ages earlier. So absolutely.
What you said there is really interesting because and the comments that you've made as well, Courtney. We've done, and Courtney, you had a little bit of a view into version 1 of our maturity model that we're building at the moment. A lot of that was driven and developed by AI, and it worked really well as sort of a beta version of version 1 to get a proof of concept. And our developer CTO. He hates that title. I think what does he call friend of the internet? He prefers anyway. He spun up that model for us in about 3 days. Like, all done 3 days. We've just rebuilt that model, version 2, from the ground up using Flesh and Bone developer.
Yep.
And what was really interesting is that I think, like you said, Adam, it can help expedite parts of the process. But then going back to what you're saying, Courtney, you need the human because it lacks contextual. There's a complete lack of contextual ability, and anything in my mind, and whether you agree with this, I'd be interested to know, is that anything binary, it's very good at. Code is ones and zeros, so it's good at it. As soon as you've got any nuance or contextual difference in it, it can be it's awful, like to the point of unusable, and even. Yeah, some things we try and do, good for thought starters, good for polishing, good for changing tone in
anything with parameters, right? Anything with parameters between A and B, and there's no grey area. It's excellent at calculations, mathematics, like all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but again, you like you said, any calculation that is a rule, isn't it? It is a completely set rule of X plus Y equals Z. So once you do that, it's really good. We've done some great stuff with it, really quick. As soon as you say, like even with design, I think it's pretty poor at design, and that side of things. Because again, you lose the context and the human connection and the human in the loop that you were talking about, Courtney.
And it hallucinates as well, right? So that the thing is around, at what point do you read it? And there's what I was saying with the emails, like at what point do you read it and go, that makes absolutely no sense. What was Greg trying to send me at that period of time? Because the second line in his email, it's in English, but it makes absolutely zero sense.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I agree on some fronts, not all on those statements. I mean, we live in an exponential curve that I don't think any of us can imagine or understand. To be frank, the speed by which change is taking place is crazy. We're talking about gigawatt facilities being created to, they call it the bitter lesson, for those that don't know. The bitter lesson is that we think we can run algorithms designed by humans to make the step changes that take place in the designs of new technologies. The truth is they've found out that they've just got to throw a shit pile of CPU compute at it, and the more they throw at it, the more they can do the training models and the learning models, the faster this thing will go. And so, our friend Tesla, Elon, I think he's going to a million B200s or H200s. These are $40,000 a chip. Yeah, This is a $40 billion investment in a data center. It's too hard to fathom, and the reason why they're doing it is because they've identified that's the speed to the next evolution. Some things, some stats, please.
Courtney, I was just going to say, it was an interesting thing I was reading about James Cameron, who created Terminator, right? Yep. And obviously he's lived through what was a complete ideation of creating that film in whenever it was, 1970, 1960, whatever it was, to now today reading about what we're able to do with AI. And actually, when you read the article, and I'll share it with you guys after this, it was really interesting to get his viewpoint, which was what was from ideation in his movies to where we're getting to and where we're going in the future. And the reality is, in some aspects, it is scary, right? Because we're talking about data centers to increase computing power. Like at a point, you embed that computing power into chips in our brain and robotics, and it is going to continue to evolve, and for the good and the bad, right? There's
that's the coin. You're spot on. Look, it's funny you should say. I think 2014 we went to singularity in the Terminator series, right? So I think it was 2014. So we're past singularity. Well, we haven't, but in his mind, we were going to hit singularity at 2014. Asimov's another classic writer that's written some amazing things. They've got lots of it right, and some of it they've got wrong. But I think the forecasting of those futurists have been pretty spot on in many ways when we think about just maybe not the speed by which we get there and then the acceleration. I've been watching a series with my boys, Alien Earth. I was one of the early Alien, scared the living shit out of you in the theatre type environment, like crazy stuff. And so we've been watching Alien Earth, and I laughed my head off because they've had to hold true to the series, and so they've got these 1970s screens in spaceships that they launched, you know, and they're coming back, but they've got lasers, you know, and so you go, why are you doing this? Why are these interfaces so shit, man? Like, anyway, that's a side segue. We'll keep moving because I'm conscious of time. We said about 40 minutes of chat time, so we're approaching half an hour now. Let's lean into the concept of partnerships, because I'm really interested in both your takes on partnerships and how you evolve partnerships and how you work inside partnership networks. I'm going to go to you first, Adam, and only because I know you've spent some time taking trial across the world, and part of that is through really unique models around sales development and also partnerships. So can we talk about the importance of partnerships and what you see partnerships 2.0 looking like in this world where it's just easier to do something different?
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's two aspects to partnerships. There's the technical aspect of partnership, and then there's the commercial and sales aspect of a partnership. So I want to focus on both of them because the technical aspect of partnership, I feel like, is really revolutionizing with AI. Like, I think there are some ways around AI agents and the way that AI agents can communicate together to enhance integrations and build better outcomes for our customers, give them more functionality. So I think there's a technical aspect to it, and then I think there's a commercial go-to-market and sales aspect to it. And so I think from a go-to-market perspective with sales and commercially, obviously not only partnerships with your distribution network are important, like they're critical to building your brand and your awareness in your ecosystems, but also working with other key solutions to find out, you know, when you're doing discovery with a client, you know, they've generally got a project roadmap of the things that they want to fix in their organization. Maybe it's financial reporting, maybe it is, maybe it is AP, maybe it's AR, whatever it might be, but they've got a project map and a project list of the things that they want to knock off. And if you can work out a way to not overload them, but create a design solution that enables them to get the benefits of multiple partners working together throughout a structured design scope, it enables them to not get overloaded, so feel like they're taking on another ERP project, but it gives you the ability to be able to wrap products together. So for example, wrapping, you know, a trail product with a, you know, Velixo product with a connection product, right? But it's all in a wrapped way that's so solution driven that it gives them confidence of the way that you're going to deploy an alignment together to get the customer outcomes that they're looking for. So there is absolutely the distribution model on the commercial side with your resellers and your core network, but then the really untapped opportunity, I think, on a global level is that ability for enhancement products, or what do you want to call them, add-on
high level supplementary solutions. But be
able to working together to solution design what it looks like together for that customer.
I love this thinking, mate. It's amazing.
Because their biggest challenge, if you think about it from the customer side, is they go and they select an ERP and they spend 12 to 18 months just trying to get their feet under the table, right? And in that time, every add-on solution is trying to get in the door. You know, we can help. And in the complexity of their environment and their operations, they're just trying to work out how do they build a roadmap after that 18 months into what makes sense and how do they bundle it together to get the outcomes that they want without being overloaded. And they're trying to manage the risk at the same time they're trying to manage the benefit and the outcome that they can see from these different solutions.
Yeah, mate, I love it. I love it. And Alex, because I've got a couple of things I'd like to add, but I won't do it until we've heard from your thoughts on this, Alex.
Yeah, I think a big part of it from us as a professional service organisation is being really focused about what we're good at and the lanes that we want to be in, and actually not trying to stray too far from that, but equally having collaborations and alliances with other organizations who we know and trust that are good, that you can actually bring either some of our clients into to say, actually in this space, speak to this person, we can manage it or not, it doesn't really matter. And actually having that ability to, and it's a hugely fragmented market, especially Australia, massively fragmented market generally within business. But you look at something like the marketing space, which is almost zero barrier to entry. You don't need any official qualifications. You don't need any licenses. You just need, essentially a Google Ads account, and you call yourself a strategic marketer, which is great. So how do you actually build a trusted network of organizations that people can come to and know that they're not going to get sold to by a partner and executed by a junior, and equally know they're not going to be oversold. They're not going to be given the snake oil, that they're going to be looked after, that they're going to be spoken the truth to, all those kind of things. And I think the more robust your network can be, and the more upfront that can be, and the stronger the alliances you can make, the better, and can be really beneficial. And that's real again. That's people. That's individuals, not going to ChatGPT to make me a marketing strategy and write on with Google Ads, because they'll be rubbish. Because you have to know what's coming in, what's going out. And we can't know.
It's the questions you ask, not the output. Oh man, to unravel. Wow. So indemnity, partnerships create indemnity and risk aversion, because you get to know people that you have the technical chops, the skill sets, and the domains. I think that in its own right is an interesting one. We could talk about that for a long time. We won't. The other one is they're good people. They care. They want to deliver per the mandate by which they were introduced, and you can trust them. And then you've thrown in the ability to take the opportunity and extend it, Adam, by being intelligent in the way you design it at the front end. The bits that I'm unraveling in that is that in the world where you've got this concept of engagement, particularly in our space, Adam, where you're trying to identify what is that discovery piece, what are their requirements, what are they doing well now, what aren't they doing well. These tools, we went on a build just to create a scoping and design tool so that I could have a really good designed conversation because of our experience, what we knew that our customers generally want, to extend that out to what they really want, what they're identifying, their secret sauce, and then somehow unravel that against the mix of things that we can offer and try and tell that truth, which is we can solve these things today, our partners could solve for this. And I had a strong conversation with Phil about this, and I said, the troubles that a lot of our partners have, and I was talking particularly about large carrier partners, is that the AE, the account exec or the BD, he's got 20 different solutions he needs to be an expert in. Never going to happen. Yeah. So the likelihood that he can have a conversation of value about trailed or a marketing provider, they can't, right?
But a solution.
There's these wicked tools where we can maybe create mechanisms where they can have at least a decent conversation, start a conversation. Yeah.
It becomes like a solutions, like it's powered by solutions engineering, but the idea of it is around, providing enough input data points for an AI tool to be able to give you enough information to get by before you need to go and specialize with that particular add-on solution.
Yeah. So I'm going to give a piece of free advice to anyone listening, and we don't have a massive audience, but for anyone that listens, if you want to explore what that looks like, and Alex, I think I've shared this with you. If I haven't, I apologize. Is go and try, if you've got a Google account, go and try Notebook LM. Just go and play with that for an hour. All right. Why? Because you'll learn the importance of context. You have to put high quality context in to get output. Secondly, it gives you an ability to talk to your data. You can act like the human in the loop to extract out the things you need. But third, and the really bit that's super interesting with the tool, is that you can go and ask it to do a podcast on the data you've provided, and you can hear a completely separate, completely different viewpoint on what they're seeing in the data you've fed in, which is just mind-bending to think you can hear sounds like humans talking about the subject matter you want to bring to the conversation. So that in its own right, I think every time I've told someone to have a look at it, they've had a holy shit moment. And my relevant alignment to that was I was at a conference recently, 2 days. They gave us a paper workbook. It was a business exit summit and investment summit, which I was really curious about. It's a detailed workbook, and we're going through that over 2 days. And I just went into Google, scanned every page, all my notes. I transposed a conversation about each day at the end of the day, put that into the folder, and it spat out a podcast about my journey in that 2 days of experience for an 8-minute podcast. Flipping amazing. While a lawyer next to me that didn't even know how to use AI was I can't even comprehend what you've just done in that 20 minutes, let alone what's the output. So yeah, what power if used in the right hands, the Superman story, right? Augmentation of power.
Yeah, I use several AI tools on a daily basis as well as a weekly basis. ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Grok, Gemini, you name it, I'm using them. And different tools for different situations for work and personal. And I want to share a story that that Courtney's heard before, but it's something that I'll take for you to take home for your spouses as well. Is every time I have an argument with my new wife,
New wife, congratulations, my friend. And I forgot to mention that in this podcast.
yeah,
This is a day's old news story. Phil is
Yeah.
off the market.
I'm off the market, people. It's always been that story that always she's right, happy wife, happy life. But I want to go against that and be that first male that goes against that philosophy. And now what we do now is every time we used to do this other method where if we got into an argument, I'll say the word pineapple and that will force us to stop, and we have to go to our separate corners for an hour, and then finally we go back. And we're
this is your safe word, Phil, is it?
That was our safe word. I'll say pineapple, and then that would completely stop the argument, and we'll move across. Because she would have her supporting argument on something, I'll have my supporting argument. Now we take it to Grok. I go to Grok, I put it on therapist mode, and I put in the question. This is what's happened. This is what her rebuttal is. This is my rebuttal is, and whatever Grok says, that is what we follow. That is the source of truth, and that is going to do.
Wow.
And if it's hers, it's hers. If it's mine, it's mine. But that's our third-party reasoning tool. That's not biased. I haven't got into the commands and,
I was going to say, what have you done
against
Phil?
me? Support.
My machine learning headspace goes instantly. What's your statistics? Who's currently winning off the Grok?
You don't even know
data?
That's powered by a Power BI out of connection. So if you want to know, you have to get connection.
All right, we're approaching the end here, Philip. So I'd love to just ask these gents. We're coming to Forge Axe Throwing next week. There's a conference on. Where can people meet you beforehand? Come and say hello. Are you at Converge, Adam, next week? I forgot to ask Phil at the start, and of course,
I am.
at the Axe Throwing. Yeah.
Definitely will be. I'll be coming along with a couple of members from my team. So
Awesome.
Feel free to shoot by, say hello, come out for a general chat on anything to do with AI. I think we didn't cover it much in this session, but AI agents, I think, is a really cutting edge thing for any business. It gives you the ability to do better buying, better procurement, better everything. Definitely have to chat with you about the use of AI in different aspects outside of accounts payable.
I'll come along. We'll riff, no doubt. That'll be a lot of fun. And Alex, you and your team are going to be at Forge on the 18th. We're going to have some fun. I think we've got like 5 tickets left, guys. So you know what? If you're out there and you come to Converge and you want to meet these wonderful humans and others like them and do it in a competitive environment and learn something along the way, 18th, come along, get the tickets. They're available.
Excellent.
Yeah, we'll be at Converge as well. We're heading down on the 18th as well for the day. So we'll be there and looking forward to the evening.
Terrific.
Excellent.
Amazing.
Thank you for your time, gentlemen. This has been a fun podcast, and mate, I look forward to throwing axes. And whoever wins the axe throwing wins a bottle of Forge whiskey. So that's another big thing, another reason to come down. So
I better practice in the.
You better practice. Before. Darts doesn't translate, just so you know.
Yeah. No.
Well, that might be
get on the VR Oculus or something just to get your
Oculus. I love it. Yeah. I love it. Gold.
Awesome.
Well, there we are.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, gents. Good luck, and see you next week.
Thanks for having us on. See you guys.
Thank you.